Hi, I'm Matt Hatton from technology industry analyst firm Transformer Insights. We're here at the Things Conference talking all things IoT and specifically LoRaWAN. I'm here with Johan Stokking of the Things industry. I shouldn't be welcoming you here. This is your show. You should be the one doing the welcoming, if I understand correctly. Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Nice to have you here.
Thank you very much. It's a fantastic show. Right?
Yeah.
1,500 people here.
1,500 people.
From 50-something countries, something along those lines. You must be really pleased with how this is developed.
I'm super happy.
An event.
Actually, for us, we started the Things Network 5 years ago, Winke and myself, and it started really as a community network, and we knew already from the beginning that it was a kind of a network of things, so the Things Network, but also a network of people.
Yep.
But before you actually see them, it's very abstract.
Yep.
And so this is our third big conference edition, and it's so nice to see so many people and to really see, okay, it's also the people's network. And I'm super happy and that so many people show up here.
Many of the conversations I've had with people about how this is a great opportunity to build relationships. It's about an ecosystem, and that's really what LoRa has always been about. And you've got a key part in that, in the ecosystem by now.
That's also what we try to. What the main goal is here of the conference is we don't want to have any sales talk or commercial stuff on stage. Of course, we welcome sponsors, and they have their commercial models, and they are here, and they have their products. But people go here and actually want to go home, and they want to have the feeling that they learned something. Yep. And that they get the true story of what's going on. And that is what we find really important when we organize this. Yeah.
Absolutely, it's been a lot of the sessions have been very informative. Shall I say? Okay, I want to talk to you about the Things Stack. Get a little more technical. Yeah. You announced that at this show 12 months ago, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
Tell me what's happened in the last 12 months.
So last year, during the conference, we were actually working on it already for 1.5 years then. Yep. A little bit on the side because we had our other stack, the previous version. And last year we open sourced it, so we made it available to the open source community. Mm-hmm. And since then, we have been putting a lot of work in it because when we opened it up for the people to use, we received a lot of feedback and questions and things. So then
crowdsourcing your development.
It's like I don't have so I don't have kids, but I can imagine that if you raise your kids and it's 4 years old, and then it goes to school. And that's kind of the same as bringing it's out of your hands at some point. And so that was really interesting. And so what happened in the meantime is that we are it's being used widely already, and we have already onboarded customers on the Things Stack. Yeah.
Okay, very good. Open source. Talk to me about some of the opportunities and challenges associated with that, and how you found it over the last 12 months.
So we've been having our software initiatives open source from the beginning, from day one. And because we think that open source is, for us, the Things Stack is just a good implementation of LoRaWAN specification. But there's nothing really secret, or we don't see value really in the implementation itself. So we want to give that away to the community, for them also to see how it works. It's transparency, but also to give them the opportunity to improve it and to get back with us with improvements or find issues. So it's really working with the open source community. But there are challenges as well. If you do an open source project, you can do it two ways. You can say, here's the source code, figure it out. Or you can really have your own development process also open. And transparent. So, and that is what we do. So we have, it's not only that the source is available and that it's continuously available, but you also see our milestones, you see our issues, you see our internal conversations, you see what we prioritize, and everyone can actually jump into that discussion. And so that makes it really transparent. And we go, sometimes we have issue for a customer, and they ask us, hey, this is not working. And then we say, okay, you file an issue. Here's the link, and you can follow it. And they can follow the whole process of us picking it up when we do that, when we have a fix, what the source code looks like, so it's super transparent.
Any changes in priority that have come from the user community?
Yes.
Okay. Examples?
Yes, absolutely. We had so that's a nice thing. We are software developers, so we built the stack, but we are not the typical user.
Yeah,
we use it
sure.
for testing, but when people have particular use cases, they use different features than that we would use. And so we work on GitHub. GitHub is an open source platform, and if you have a GitHub account, you can vote. You can upvote features.
Okay,
So
sure.
and we look at that. So sometimes when we have new issues coming in, or we ask our customers, hey, if you find this important, upvote.
Yeah.
And we see sometimes that they email it around in their company and they ask everyone, hey, upvote, 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 and then we have within a day one issue that's upvoted 30 times, and that changes our priority for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, notwithstanding that, you must have a roadmap for ideas that are going to be coming in the next year or two. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, and I'm also going to talk on that in my presentation later today, but definitely can share that here. So we are actually pretty much feature complete already with the Things stack. There's a new version of LoRaWAN coming, and that's LoRaWAN 1.0.4. We will be supporting that in a month or so from now already, as well as Class B, that's an operational mode of communicating with devices. We launched Packet Broker. So what's also on the roadmap is that the open source community, as well as our customers, can start exchanging traffic with each other via the Packet Broker. We are going to work on on firmware updates over the air, which we have already put tremendous effort in, but we still need to close a gap between what we do on the network layer and what the device makers need to do firmware updates, because it has to come from two sides, basically. And there's still a gap, technically, and we're going to fill that in. And finally...
and with some limitations on that based on the radio channel
on the radio channel, and also the way that we transport the firmware to the end device and how the end device can actually verify the firmware. There's no standardization there. So we're not going to standardize it, but we're going to give a reference implementation that we think is good to close that gap. And finally, we're going to present the device repository, which is it's very much like a catalog of devices, but then fully digital with all the characteristics of the devices. So if you see here, for example, a device, a temperature sensor, in this device repository, it will be there with the name, the model, the version, the firmwares, if you have a firmware update, but also the device profile. So what LoRaWAN version is it? Which regional parameters? Does it support Class A or B or C? Things like that. Everything that the network needs to know. And then as a user, you can say, like all the devices you have here on the wall, you can say, okay, this is my device. This is the type. I want to onboard it on the network, and then the network knows exactly how the device will behave.
And is there an approvals process for that? Does this come with a stamp of approval from TTI? Is that how it works?
So this is also an open source repository, and we will do this review process on GitHub as well. And we invite the device maker community to file pull requests on GitHub with their device information. And we will verify that it actually comes from them. That is to get into the device repository. And then, in addition to that, we want to have TTI validation, where we actually test the device and see how it behaves on the network, and if it follows the best practices. Because there's also a gap between whether it supports LoRaWAN and whether it is correct, the protocol is correct, and whether it follows best practices. So if it doesn't send too much data, or if it asks for too many acknowledgements from the network and things like that. Yeah. Okay.
To make sure that the whole ecosystem all works together, and you don't have somebody doing something, rogue devices and that kind of thing. Yeah, makes absolute sense. Just in the last minute or so that we've got left, TTI's join server. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, the join server is also a very nice solution again for device makers. Today, if you buy a device, a LoRaWAN device, you have to get the security keys to onboard it in your network. And very often these keys are sent by email as an Excel attachment, for example. And so what we built is the joint server, which is a standard component also in LoRaWAN, but we make it globally available. So it's one global joint server where device makers can securely register their devices with the root keys. So they have a secure connection with the joint server. They don't have to send any files, but there's a secure mechanism to upload the keys. And then the device maker sells their device, and they give some kind of proof of ownership to the owner. For example, a QR code or a PIN code or something, but not the root keys. And then with that security code, the owner can claim the device in the joint server without seeing any root keys or anything.
Nice.
And because it's a generic joint server, it works with the Things stack, it works with the Things Enterprise stack, our commercial solution, but it also works in any other LoRaWAN network server that implements the standard interfaces. So we are working with our competitors, and we are testing with our competitors, and we have successful interrupt tests with our competitors to show that the devices can work on other networks as well.
Fantastic. So again, catalyzing an ecosystem rather than necessarily just focusing on yourselves as an organization. I think that's a good place to leave it. Johan, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you so much.